Captain Lee Minho stood at the window of his office, watching the sun rise over New Busan Colony. The red star cast long shadows across the mining equipment and small buildings that made up their home. He had been the colony commander for 3 years now, and every morning he felt proud of what they had built here. The colony was small, but strong. 230 people lived and worked on this distant planet. They mined special crystals that Earth needed for their new technology. The crystals were rare and valuable, which made New Busan important despite being so far from home. Dr. Park Ji-hee walked into his office carrying a cup of coffee and a datapad. She was the head of the research team and one of the smartest people Minho had ever met. Her team studied the crystals and found new ways to use them. "Good morning, Captain," she said with a tired smile. "The morning reports are ready. Any problems?" Minho asked, taking the datapad. "Nothing serious. The new mining site is producing well. Kim Dae-ho says the power systems are running at full capacity. We should have another shipment ready for Earth in 2 weeks." Minho nodded. Kim Dae-ho was their best engineer. If he said the systems were good, then they were good. Everything seemed normal and peaceful. That changed when the emergency alarm started ringing. Both Minho and Ji-hye ran to the communication center. Sergeant Kang Dong-hyuk was already there, his face serious as he listened to his headset. Other colony workers gathered around, looking worried. "What is it?" Minho asked. "Emergency message from Earth Command, sir," Dong-hyuk said. He was young but reliable, and Minho trusted him completely. "They say there's an alien fleet coming our way. Big one." Minho felt his stomach drop. They had always known this was possible, but New Busan was so far from everything that they thought they were safe. "Put it on speaker," he ordered. The message crackled through the speakers. It was from Admiral Chen at Earth Defense Command. His voice was urgent and clear. "All outer colonies, this is Priority 1 alert. We have detected a large alien fleet moving through your sector. They call themselves the Vexhai. Intelligence says they are hunters who attack colonies for sport and resources. They have never met humans before. All colonies must prepare for possible attack. Help is coming, but it will take time. Hold your positions and protect your people." Earth Command out. The room went quiet. Everyone looked at each other with fear in their eyes. They were miners and scientists, not soldiers. They had some basic weapons for protection against wild animals, but nothing that could fight a space fleet. Dr. Park Ji-hee spoke first. "How long do we have?" Minho looked at the star charts on the main screen. "If they're coming from the direction Earth Command thinks, maybe 3 days. Maybe less. What do we do?" asked Choi Yuna, who ran the medical center. She was small but brave and never backed down from helping people. "We prepare," Minho said firmly. "We've practiced for this. Everyone knows their emergency jobs. Dong-hyuk, send messages to all section leaders. I want a meeting in 1 hour." As people hurried away to prepare, Minho stayed in the communication room with Ji-hye. They both knew the truth that he couldn't say out loud. New Busan had weak defenses. They had a few laser guns and some basic shields, but nothing that could stop a real military attack. "Do you think they'll really come here?" Ji-hye asked quietly. "I don't know," Minho admitted. "But we have to act like they will." Far above them, space was quiet and dark. But something was coming through that darkness. Something that had never seen humans before. Commander Yoon Tae-hyung stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Death Wind. He was tall and strong, with 4 arms and skin like metal. His people, the Vexhai, were born warriors. They lived for the hunt and they were very good at it. "Report," he commanded in his deep voice. "The target system is ahead, Commander," said his navigation officer. "We will arrive in 2 days. Our scouts report one small world with life. The beings there are called humans." Tae-hyung looked at the information on his screen. The humans seemed weak and slow. They had no real weapons and only one small colony. "This would be an easy hunt. How many ships do they have?" he asked. "None in the system, Commander. They have sent distress signals, but help will not arrive for many days." Tae-hyung smiled, showing his sharp teeth. This was perfect. The humans would be trapped with nowhere to run. His fleet of 12 warships would take the colony quickly, and then they would wait for the human rescue ships. Those ships would become part of the hunt too. "Tell the fleet to prepare for battle," he ordered. "This hunt begins soon." The Vexhai had hunted many species across the galaxy. They were proud of their skill and strength. In their culture, only the strong deserved to live. The weak existed to be hunted. They had defeated bird-like creatures who could fly through space without ships. They had hunted giant insects that could survive in any environment. They had even destroyed machine beings that thought they were superior to all life, but they had never hunted humans. Back on New Busan, the colony worked through the night to prepare. Kim Dae-ho and his engineering team set up extra shields around the most important buildings. They also prepared to shut down non-essential systems to give more power to their weapons. Pilot Yang Hyerin checked their one small transport ship. It was old but fast, and it might be their only way to call for help if the communication systems were destroyed. Dr. Park Ji-hee worked with her research team to hide their most important data. If the colony fell, they wanted to make sure their discoveries about the crystals would survive. Captain Lee Min-ho walked through the colony, talking to people and making sure everyone knew what to do. He saw fear in their eyes, but also determination. These people had come to the edge of space to build something new. They would not give up easily. "We've survived storms, equipment failures, and food shortages," he told them. "We've built a home in a place where nothing was supposed to live. We're stronger than we know." As the second day passed, everyone did their jobs and waited. The colony felt different now, quieter, more focused. People helped each other more and complained less. Even the children seemed to understand that something important was happening. On the third morning, Sergeant Kang Dong-hyuk's voice came over the communication system. "Contact on long-range sensors. Multiple ships approaching. They're big and they're not ours." Captain Minho looked up at the sky even though he couldn't see anything yet. Somewhere up there, hunters were coming. They thought they were going to find easy prey. They were about to learn something new about humans. The attack came at dawn. Captain Lee Min-ho was in the command center when the first explosions lit up the sky. The Vexhai ships appeared like dark shadows against the red sunrise, their weapons already firing. Bright plasma beams struck the colony's shields, making them flicker and spark. "All defensive positions now," Minho shouted into his communicator. The colony had practiced this many times, but practice was different from the real thing. People ran to their emergency stations while explosions shook the ground. The air filled with smoke and the smell of burned electronics. Dr. Park Ji-hee ran into the command center, her research clothes dirty from diving for cover. "The main lab took a direct hit," she reported, "but the backup systems are still working." "Good. Stay low and keep those computers running," Minho told her. On his screens, he could see the Vexhai ships circling above like hungry birds. There were 12 of them, each one bigger than anything the colony had ever seen. Their weapons were more powerful than Earth's best technology. Kim Dae-ho's voice crackled over the radio from the power station. "Shields at 60% and dropping fast. I can give you maybe 10 more minutes of full power." "Do what you can," Minho replied. The colony's laser guns fired back at the alien ships, but their shots barely scratched the enemy hulls. The Vexhai had energy shields that absorbed most of the damage. It was like throwing rocks at armored vehicles. Commander Yoon Tae-hyung watched the battle from his flagship with satisfaction. The humans' weapons were weak, just as he had expected. Their shields were already failing. This hunt would be over quickly. "Prepare the landing troops," he ordered. "I want to see these humans up close before we finish them." His warriors roared with excitement. They had been waiting for days to start the real hunt. Fighting ships in space was efficient, but it wasn't personal. Real hunting happened on the ground, where you could see your prey run and hear them scream. The first landing pod struck the colony like meteors. Each pod carried 10 Vexhai warriors armed with plasma rifles and energy blades. They were twice as tall as humans and much stronger. Their metal-like skin could stop most bullets. The first group of warriors landed near the mining equipment. They expected to find humans hiding or running away. Instead, they found something strange. The humans weren't running. Sergeant Kang Dong-hyuk and his security team were waiting in the mining tunnels. When the first Vexhai warrior entered the tunnel, Dong-hyuk triggered an explosive charge that brought down tons of rock. The warrior's shields protected him from the blast, but now he was trapped underground with angry humans. "Welcome to our home," Dong-hyuk said, and opened fire. The Vexhai had never fought an enemy that used their own environment as a weapon. The humans knew every tunnel, every machine, and every hiding place in the colony. They used mining equipment like giant weapons, swinging massive drill arms at the invaders. Pilot Jang Hyerin was supposed to escape in the transport ship and call for help. But when she saw Vexhai warriors attacking the school where the children were hiding, she changed her mind. She turned the ship around and used it like a flying battering ram, crashing into a group of enemies. She survived the crash and crawled out with a broken arm and blood on her face. "I'm not leaving," she told Captain Minho over the radio. "These are our kids." More landing pods came down. The Vexai sent 50 warriors, then 100. They had overwhelming numbers and superior weapons. But something was wrong. The humans were supposed to be cowering in fear by now. Instead, they were fighting harder. Commander Yoon Tae-hyung received confused reports from his ground teams. "The humans are using strange tactics," one warrior reported. "They work together without orders. When we wound one, others risk their lives to save him. They are learning our weapons patterns and finding ways to avoid them." This puzzled Tae-hyung. In every other hunt, prey animals ran when attacked. Even intelligent species usually panicked and made mistakes. But these humans seemed to get more organized under pressure, not less. In the medical center, Choi Yuna worked desperately to save wounded colonists. The small building had become a fortress, with injured people still firing weapons from the windows. When Vexai warriors tried to break in, they found that even wounded humans would fight to protect their doctor. "I need more bandages," Yuna called to her assistant. "We're out," came the reply. "Then tear up sheets, curtains, anything," she said, never stopping her work on a wounded miner. "Nobody dies today if I can help it." The Vexai warriors outside the medical center had never seen anything like this. Their prey was protecting their healers instead of abandoning them. It didn't make sense. Kim Dae-ho discovered something interesting about the alien weapons. When a Vexai warrior fell, his weapon could still fire for several minutes before shutting down. Dae-ho started collecting these weapons and studying them. "I think I can figure out how they work," he told Dr. Park Ji-hye over the radio. "Give me an hour." "You have 20 minutes, she replied. "That's all the power I can give you." Dae-ho worked faster than he ever had before. The alien weapons used energy crystals similar to the ones they mined on New Busan. With some modifications, he might be able to power them with their own equipment. Meanwhile, the battle in the tunnels was getting worse for the Vexai. They were used to hunting in open spaces where they could use their size and strength. In the narrow tunnels, those advantages meant nothing. The humans knew exactly where to place explosives and how to make the tunnels collapse in the right places. Sergeant Kang Dong-hyuk had divided his people into small teams. Each team knew the tunnel system in their area perfectly. When the Vexai tried to chase one team, they would run into traps set by another team. "These tunnels have been our workplace for 3 years, Dong-hyuk explained to his teams. "We know every pipe, every wire, every weak spot. Make them regret coming into our home." The humans also did something else that confused the Vexai. They shared information constantly. Every time someone learned something new about the enemy, they told everyone else immediately. When one team discovered that Vexai armor was weak at the joints, every human fighter knew it within minutes. Commander Yoon Tae-hyung started receiving reports that made no sense to him. "The humans are adapting to our tactics in real time," his ground commander reported. "They seem to learn from every encounter, and they never abandon their wounded or their weak." "Impossible," Tae-hyung replied. "Prey animals don't behave this way." "Perhaps these are not prey animals." "Commander." Tae-hyung felt something he had never experienced before in a hunt. Doubt. His warriors were supposed to be winning easily, but the battle was taking much longer than planned. Worse, he was losing warriors to creatures that should have been helpless. As the day wore on, more strange reports came in. The humans had somehow figured out how to use captured Vexai weapons. They were using their mining equipment in ways it was never designed for. Most disturbing of all, they were working together like parts of a single organism. Dr. Park Ji-hye made a discovery that changed everything. While studying the energy patterns of the Vexai weapons, she realized that the aliens' shields had a weakness. They were designed to stop high-energy attacks, but they barely noticed the low-frequency vibrations that the mining crystals could produce. "I can make a resonance bomb," she told Captain Minho. "It won't destroy their shields, but it will make them very uncomfortable, maybe uncomfortable enough to make mistakes." Captain Minho looked around the command center at his tired, wounded, but determined people. They had been fighting for 8 hours against impossible odds. They should have been defeated by now, but they weren't defeated. They were angry. "Do it," he told Ji-hye. "Let's show these hunters what happens when they pick the wrong prey." Outside, more Vexai landing pods were coming down. Commander Yoon Tae-hyung had committed almost his entire ground force to this battle. He expected it to be over soon. He was about to learn that humans had more surprises waiting for him. Pilot Jang Hyerin had never been so happy to see empty space in her life. Her damaged shuttle limped away from New Busan, every system failing but still flying. Behind her, the planet looked like it was on fire. She had waited until the Vexhi were fully committed to their ground attack. Then she used the chaos and smoke to slip past their orbital blockade. Now she was racing toward the nearest human outpost, pushing her broken ship to its limits. "Come on, hold together," she whispered to her shuttle. Blood from her head wound had dried on her face and her broken arm was tied to her chest with torn cloth. But she was alive and she had a job to do. 3 hours later, her emergency signal reached Admiral Song Ji-hoon aboard the battlecruiser Incheon's Pride. Ji-hoon was a veteran of the border wars, a calm man who had seen many battles. But when he heard Hyerin's message, his face went dark with anger. "They attacked a mining colony?" he asked his communication officer. "Yes, sir. The pilot says they're calling themselves hunters. They think humans are prey animals." Admiral Ji-hoon stood up from his command chair. Around him, his crew waited for orders. They had all heard the message, and they all knew what it meant. Somewhere out there, human families were fighting for their lives. "Send signals to all human ships in this sector," Ji-hoon ordered. "Tell them we have a code red emergency. Any ship that can fight should come to New Busan immediately." Tactical Officer Bae Suman pulled up the star charts. "Sir, we have the destroyer Seoul, the cruiser Daegu, and 6 smaller ships within 2 days' travel. The freighter Mokpo is also close. Even freighters can carry missiles," Ji-hoon said grimly. "Tell them all to come. And send a message to Earth Command. Tell them that humans are under attack by an unknown species. Request immediate military support." The Admiral looked at the star chart showing New Busan's location. Those people had been fighting alone for almost a day now. He hoped they could hold on a little longer. "Maximum speed to New Busan," he ordered, "and prepare all weapons." Back on New Busan, the situation was getting desperate. Dr. Park Ji-hye's resonance bombs had worked better than expected. When the first one exploded near a group of Vexhi warriors, their shields flickered and failed. The low-frequency sound waves made them dizzy and confused, but the aliens were learning too. They started wearing ear protection and modified their shield frequencies. The advantage only lasted for a few hours. Captain Lee Min-ho gathered his section leaders in the underground command center. The main building above them was destroyed, but the bunker was still secure. Around the table sat the survivors of his leadership team. Kim Dae-ho with burns on his hands from repairing damaged equipment, Sergeant Kang Dong-yuk with his uniform torn and dirty, Dr. Park Ji-hye with datapads full of alien weapon analyses, and Medic Choi Yuna still wearing her bloody medical coat. "Status report," Min-ho said. "We have 47 wounded, 12 dead," Yuna reported quietly. "I can keep treating people, but medical supplies are running low." "Power systems are holding," Kim Dae-ho said. "But we're down to backup generators in most areas. The main reactor took damage. The aliens are getting smarter," Dong-yuk added. "They're not falling for the same traps anymore. And they brought more warriors down from their ships." Dr. Park Ji-hye looked up from her notes. "I've been studying their behavior patterns. These Vexhi are individual fighters. They're very good at one-on-one combat, but they don't coordinate well. Each warrior seems to make his own decisions." "How does that help us?" Minho asked. "We do the opposite. We work together better under pressure. They work worse. If we can force them into situations where they have to cooperate with each other, they might make mistakes." Minho nodded. It was a small advantage, but they needed every edge they could get. Above ground, Commander Yoon Tae-hyung was beginning to understand that this hunt was unlike any other. His warriors were brave and skilled, but they were taking heavy losses. The humans refused to behave like proper prey. "Status report," he demanded from his ground commander. "We control about half the colony, Commander, but the humans have retreated to prepared positions. They have turned their industrial areas into fortresses. Every building must be taken separately, and each one costs us warriors. How many have we lost?" 63 warriors dead, 91 wounded. Tae-hyung's 4 hands clenched into fists. In a normal hunt, they would have lost maybe 5 or 10 warriors total. These numbers were unacceptable. What about their numbers? "Difficult to say, Commander. They move their wounded quickly and keep fighting even when injured. We estimate they have lost perhaps 30 fighters, but the rest continue to resist. Something was very wrong with this hunt. The humans should have broken by now. Instead, they seemed to be getting more organized and more dangerous as the battle continued. Tech specialist Ryu Jae-won had been working in the communications center for 18 hours straight. His job was to monitor HFY radio signals and try to decode their language. What he discovered was both useful and disturbing. "Captain," he called to Minho over the intercom, "I think I've figured out their communication system, and I have good news and bad news." "Give me the bad news first," Minho replied. "They're calling for more ships. This Commander Tae-hyung is frustrated that we're still fighting. He wants reinforcements. And the good news? I can understand their tactical communications now. I know where they're planning to attack next." This was the break they needed. For the first time since the battle started, the humans would know what the enemy was planning before it happened. The next HFY attack targeted the power station where Kim Dae-ho was working. But thanks to Jae-won's intelligence, the humans were ready. They had rigged the entire area with explosives and traps. When 50 HFY warriors charged the power station, they ran into a carefully planned ambush. Hidden humans fired from multiple directions while explosives collapsed walkways and blocked escape routes. The aliens' individual fighting skills meant nothing when they were trapped and surrounded. For the first time in the battle, more HFY died than humans. Commander Tae-hyung received the report in stunned silence. His warriors had been outmaneuvered by prey animals. It was impossible, but it had happened. "Commander," his sensor officer called out, "I'm detecting multiple ships approaching the system. They appear to be human vessels." Tae-hyung moved to the sensor display. 8 ships were coming toward New Busan at high speed. They weren't military vessels, but they all carried weapons. More importantly, they were coordinating their approach like a pack of hunters. "This is Admiral Song Ji-hoon of the Earth Defense Fleet," came a transmission from the largest ship. "You are attacking human civilians. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." Tae-hyung laughed, showing his sharp teeth. "I am Commander Yoon Tae-hyung of the HFY hunting fleet. Your people are our prey. You may join the hunt if you wish." "Wrong answer," Admiral Ji-hoon replied. The human ship spread out in a complex formation that the HFY had never seen before. Instead of charging directly into battle like honorable warriors, they began a careful, coordinated attack that used each ship's strengths while protecting its weaknesses. The freighter Mokpo launched a cloud of mining charges that exploded like a wall of fire. While the HFY ships tried to avoid the explosions, the military vessels attacked from 3 different directions at once. On the ground, the colonists heard the sound of space combat above them. For the first time in 2 days, they had hope. "Cavalry's here," Sergeant Dong-hyuk said with a grin. But Captain Minho knew the battle was far from over. The HFY still had more ships and more warriors, and somewhere in space even more alien reinforcements might be coming. The humans had shown they could fight as individuals. Now they had to prove they could fight as a species. The space battle above New Busan was unlike anything Commander Yoon Tae-hyung had ever experienced. His 12 warships were superior to the human vessels individually, but the humans didn't fight as individuals. They fought like a single organism with many parts. Admiral Song Ji-hoon coordinated the attack from his flagship, while Tactical Officer Bae Soo-min fed information to every ship in the fleet. When the destroyer Seoul took damage to its engines, the cruiser Daegu immediately moved to protect it. When a HFY ship focused its weapons on one target, 3 other human ships would attack it from behind. "They're using pack tactics," Tae-hyung muttered, watching his tactical display with growing confusion. "How do they coordinate so precisely?" His communication officer looked up nervously. "Commander, they seem to be sharing all information instantly between ships. When one ship discovers something, they all know it immediately." This was impossible by HFY standards. Warriors were supposed to win through individual skill and honor. Sharing tactical information was considered cheating, a sign of weakness. But the humans seemed to have built their entire military strategy around this concept. The first HFY ship to fall was the Bloodhunter. It had been damaged by coordinated attacks from 4 human vessels, then finished off when the freighter Mokpo rammed it at full speed. The freighter's captain, an old cargo hauler named Park Sung-ho, had volunteered for the suicide run. "Tell my family I died fighting," were his last words before impact. Commander Tae-hyung watched the explosion with shock. The human had deliberately destroyed his own ship to take down a HFY warship. In Vex High culture, such sacrifice was unthinkable. Warriors fought for glory and survival, not for others. But worse news was coming from the planet's surface. "Commander," his ground commander reported, "the human reinforcements have changed everything. They're not just sending more fighters, they're sending specialists." Fleet Commander Shin Woojin had arrived with the second wave of human ships, bringing Marine Colonel Han Seo-hyun and her boarding specialists. These weren't civilian miners fighting for their homes. These were professional soldiers who knew how to fight in space. Colonel Han Seo-hyun studied the tactical situation from her assault ship. The Vex High had made a crucial mistake. They had committed too many warriors to the ground battle, leaving their ships vulnerable to boarding actions. "Target the ship closest to the planet," she told her pilots. "We're going to pay them a visit." The assault began with precision that stunned the Vex High. Instead of attacking the ship's weapons or engines, the humans targeted its hangar bays and communication arrays. They didn't want to destroy the ship. They wanted to capture it. Marine boarding pods launched from 3 different ships, each one carrying a team of specialists. Combat Specialist Kim Sunwoo led the first team through the breached hull of the Vex High vessel Starkiller. The Vex High warriors inside the ship were brave and strong, but they had never fought humans in the close confines of ship corridors. The Marines moved in small teams, covering each other and using every piece of equipment as a weapon or shield. Room by room, Kim Sunwoo told his team over the radio. No heroes, just teamwork. The humans had studied Vex High ship designs from the wreckage of destroyed vessels. They knew the layout, the weak points, and the best places to plant explosives. Within 2 hours, they had taken control of the ship's bridge. Intelligence Officer Lee Yujin immediately went to work on the captured ship's computers. What she found there changed the entire battle. "Admiral," she transmitted to Song Ji-hoon, "I have complete tactical data on all Vex High ships. Hull configurations, weapon specifications, shield frequencies, everything. Send it to all ships immediately," Ji-hoon ordered. Within minutes, every human vessel knew exactly how to attack each Vex High ship for maximum damage. The aliens' technological advantage disappeared in an instant. But the humans weren't finished. Weapons specialist Park Min-jae and engineer Oh Haeon were working together on something that had never been tried before. They were reverse engineering Vex High technology in real time, modifying captured weapons to work with human power systems. "The energy patterns are similar to our fusion reactors," Oh Haeon explained over the communication link. "I think we can build adapters." "How long?" Admiral Ji-hoon asked. "Give me 4 hours," she replied. "You have 2 hours," he said. "The battle won't wait." Down on New Busan, the tide was turning completely. With human reinforcements and intelligence from the captured ship, the colonists began their counterattack. They emerged from their defensive positions and started hunting the Vex High warriors who had been terrorizing them for days. Captain Lee
Minho led a team through the mining tunnels toward a group of aliens who were trapped in the industrial sector.
With him were Dr. Park Ji-hye, who had become an expert on Vex High weaknesses, and Medic Choi Yuna, who insisted on coming to treat any wounded prisoners. "Remember," Minho told his team, "we're not like them. We don't kill for sport. We fight to protect our people and our home." The Vex High warriors they found were confused and demoralized. Their communication systems had been jammed by tech specialist Ryu Jaewon, who was now coordinating electronic warfare from the captured data he had decoded. The aliens couldn't talk to their ships or each other. For the first time in their lives, the Vex High were experiencing what it felt like to be hunted. "Surrender," Captain Minho called out in the few Vex High words that Jaewon had taught him. "We will not harm you if you surrender." The concept of showing mercy to defeated enemies was as alien to the Vex High as their technology was to humans. But these warriors were trapped, outnumbered, and completely cut off from support. Slowly, they put down their weapons. In space, the battle was becoming a rout. The human ships had been joined by 3 more vessels from nearby colonies. They now had the captured Vex High ship working alongside them, its weapons turned against its former fleet. Commander Yoon Tae-hyung found himself commanding only 6 ships against 12 human vessels that seemed to know his every move before he made it. His warriors were brave, but bravery meant nothing against enemies who shared perfect information and coordinated every attack. "Commander," his tactical officer reported, "the humans are requesting communication." Admiral Song Ji-hoon's face appeared on the main screen. He looked tired but determined. Behind him, Taehyung could see human officers working calmly at their stations. "Commander Taehyung," Ji-hoon said, "your ground forces have surrendered. 3 of your ships are destroyed and another is under our control. You have 2 choices. Surrender now, or watch us destroy the rest of your fleet." Taehyung's 4 hands gripped his command chair. "You are prey animals. You cannot defeat the Vexhai." "Look around you," Ji-hoon replied calmly. "We already have, it was true." The Great Hunt had become a disaster. Half his fleet was gone. His ground forces were captured or dead, and the humans showed no signs of stopping. Worse, they were learning from every battle, becoming more dangerous with each encounter. "What do you want?" Taehyung asked, the words bitter in his mouth. "First, you will recall any reinforcements you called for. Second, you will provide us with complete information about your military capabilities and the location of your homeworlds. Third, you will submit to questioning about other species you have attacked. And if I refuse?" Admiral Ji-hoon's expression didn't change. "Then we will take that information from the wreckage of your ships." Commander Taehyung looked at his remaining officers. They were all watching him, waiting for orders. But for the first time in his life, he didn't know what to do. The humans had turned the hunters into the hunted, and they had done it with a speed and efficiency that terrified him. He was beginning to understand that he had made a terrible mistake. Humans weren't prey animals at all. They were something much more dangerous. They were organized predators who had been patient enough to reach the stars, smart enough to learn from their enemies, and ruthless enough to turn captured technology against its creators. "I need time to consider," he said finally. "You have 1 hour," Admiral Ji-hoon replied, "and cut the communication." Taehyung sat in his command chair, surrounded by the wreckage of his plans. Outside his ship, human vessels moved in perfect formation, waiting for his decision. For the first time in Vexhai history, a hunting fleet was about to surrender to its prey. Commander Yoon Taehyung stared at the tactical display showing his remaining 6 ships surrounded by human vessels. His 1 hour was almost up and he still didn't know what to do. In Vexhai culture, surrender meant death without honor, but continuing to fight meant certain destruction. His communication officer looked up nervously. "Commander, the humans are signaling again." "Put them through," Taehyung said with resignation. Admiral Song Ji-hoon appeared on the screen, but this time he wasn't alone. Standing beside him was Captain Lee Min-ho from the colony, his uniform dirty but his eyes sharp with intelligence. Behind them, Taehyung could see other humans working at control stations. "Your hour's up, Commander," Admiral Ji-hoon said calmly. "What is your decision?" Taehyung looked at Captain Min-ho. This was the human who had led the defense of the colony, the one who had turned a simple hunt into a nightmare. "You," he said. "You were supposed to be easy prey. How did you defeat my warriors?" Captain Min-ho stepped forward. "Because you misunderstood what we are. You thought we were prey animals because we build colonies instead of hunting ships. You thought we were weak because we help each other instead of fighting alone. You were wrong about everything." "Explain," Taehyung demanded. "We are predators," Min-ho said simply. "But we're pack predators. We hunt together. We share information. We sacrifice for each other. Your warriors are strong individually, but they don't know how to work as a team. That made them easy targets for us." Dr. Park Ji-hee moved into view on the screen. "We also learn faster than you do. Every weapon you used, every tactic you tried, we studied it and found ways to counter it. By the end of the first day, we knew your technology better than some of your own warriors." Taehyung felt something cold in his stomach. These humans had turned his greatest strength into his greatest weakness. The Vexhai prided themselves on individual combat skill, but the humans had made individual skill irrelevant. "What do you want from me?" he asked. Admiral Ji-hoon leaned forward. "Information. We want to know about other species you've attacked. We want the locations of your worlds. And we want you to send a message to your people telling them that humans are not prey. And if I give you this information, then you and your surviving warriors will be treated as prisoners of war according to our laws. You'll be fed, given medical care, and eventually returned to your people." Taehyung couldn't believe what he was hearing. "You would show mercy to your enemies?" Captain Min-ho nodded. "We're not like you. We don't enjoy killing. We fight to protect ourselves and others, not for sport. But don't mistake our mercy for weakness. If you threaten humans again, we'll destroy you completely." The threat was delivered calmly, like a statement of fact. Taehyung realized that these humans meant every word. They had the power to destroy his remaining ships, but they were offering mercy instead. It was a concept that his warrior mind could barely comprehend. "I surrender," he said finally. The words felt like poison in his mouth, but he had no choice. "All ships, stand down weapons and prepare to be boarded," Admiral Jihoon ordered. The boarding process was unlike anything the Vexhai had experienced. The human Marines who came aboard were professional and efficient, but they weren't cruel. Marine Colonel Han Seo-hyun personally supervised the treatment of Vexhai prisoners. "Medical attention for all wounded," she ordered. "Food and water for everyone. No one gets hurt unless they try to fight." Combat specialist Kim Sunwoo found this approach strange at first. "Colonel, these aliens killed a lot of our people. Why are we treating them so well?" "Because that's what separates us from them," she replied. "We fight when we have to, but we don't become monsters." Medic Choi Yuna was already working on wounded Vexhai warriors, treating their injuries with the same care she gave to human patients. The aliens watched her with confusion and growing respect. One young Vexhai warrior asked her through a translator, "Why do you help your enemies?" "Because you're not my enemy anymore," she replied simply. "You're wounded beings who need help." Intelligence officer Lee Yujin began the process of extracting information from the captured ship's computers. What she found was both useful and disturbing. The Vexhai had detailed records of dozens of species they had hunted and destroyed. "Admiral," she reported to Song Ji-hoon, "these records show attacks on at least 30 different intelligent species over the past 50 years. Most of them are extinct now." Admiral Ji-hoon studied the data with a grim expression. The Vexhai hadn't just been hunting for resources. They had been conducting genocide for entertainment. "Send all this information to Earth Command immediately," he ordered, "and prepare a special transmission. I want every Vexhai world to receive our message." The message that went out across Vexhai space was simple, but terrifying. It contained complete tactical data from the battle at New Busan, showing how quickly human technology had adapted to counter Vexhai weapons. It showed the coordination between human ships, the boarding actions, and the final surrender of Commander Taehyung's fleet. But the most important part of the message was delivered by Captain Lee Min-ho himself. "This is Captain Lee Min-ho of the New Busan colony," he said, looking directly into the camera. "You came to our world thinking we were prey. You were wrong. We are humans and we protect our own. Any species that threatens human civilians will face the full response of our military. We offer peace to those who want it, but we will not hesitate to defend ourselves." The message spread through Vexhai space like a virus. For the first time in their history, the great hunters had been hunted. Their most elite warriors had been defeated by creatures they had dismissed as weak prey animals. Tech specialist Ryu Jaiwon intercepted Vexhai communications as the news spread. The reports he translated were filled with shock and fear. Some Vexhai leaders called for revenge attacks, but others urged caution. The humans had demonstrated capabilities that no one had expected. Engineer Oh Haeon and weapons specialist Park Min-jae had completed their analysis of captured Vexhai technology. What they discovered would change human military doctrine forever. "The aliens have better individual technologies," Oh Haeon reported, "but they don't integrate systems well. They build everything for single-ship operations. Our networking and coordination capabilities are far superior. We can adapt their weapons to work with our ships," Park Min-jae added. "But more importantly, we can design new weapons specifically to counter their tactics." 3 months later, Earth Defense Command received a disturbing report. A massive Vexhai fleet was gathering at the edge of their territory. 60 ships commanded by war leader Korthzan, Taehyung's superior. They were coming to rescue their captured warriors and restore Vexhai honor. Admiral Song Ji-hoon read the intelligence report with calm interest. "How many ships can we gather?" 47 warships plus 23 converted civilian vessels," Tactical Officer Bae Suman reported. "We're outnumbered, but all our ships now carry the new hybrid weapon systems." "And the coordination networks?" "Every human ship in the fleet can share targeting data in real time. We've also integrated the captured Vexhai vessel into our command structure." Admiral Ji-hoon smiled grimly. The Vexhai were about to learn that humans didn't just adapt to threats. They prepared for them. When war leader Korthzan arrived at the edge of human space, he expected to find scattered colonies and weak defenses. Instead, he found a coordinated fleet waiting for him. Every human ship was networked together, sharing information and coordinating attacks with a precision that his individual warriors couldn't match. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, 43 Vexhi ships had been destroyed or captured. Korthzon himself was taken prisoner when human boarding teams overwhelmed his flagship. As he was led to a detention cell, Korthzon asked his captor, "How did prey animals become so dangerous?" Marine Colonel Han Seo-hyun looked at him with patient eyes. "We were never prey animals. We were pack hunters who learned to reach the stars. You just made the mistake of threatening our pack." The news of the second Vexhi defeat spread even faster than the first. Across the galaxy, species that had lived in fear of the great hunters began to hope. The Vexhi were not invincible after all. On New Busan, life slowly returned to normal. The colony had been rebuilt stronger than before. Captain Lee Minho stood in his new office watching the sunrise over their home. Dr. Park Ji-hye was working on new crystal technologies that combined human and Vexhi science. The wounded had healed and new colonists had arrived to replace those who had died, but everyone remembered the lesson they had learned. Humans were not prey. They were protectors, teachers, and when necessary, hunters. And somewhere in the darkness between the stars, anyone who threatened human civilians would find that out the hard way. The galaxy had new apex predators, and they hunted as a pack.